Every year, so many students graduate from high school, feeling excited about what college will bring. They imagine freedom, new friendship, a fun vibe, and finally, getting to dive into subjects they care about. But for many, their reality turns out to be quite different from their expectations. Hi guys, welcome to the podcast Bittersweet with me Diva and Fairuz as hosts in this episode. Now, I want to share the story and experience of Riva, one of the new students at UNESA from the English Literature Department. With pleasure, she's looking forward to share her experiences with us. If you want to know, who is she? She was a student who came to college with a lot of excitement and high hopes. She imagined it would be the best time of her life, but the reality turned out to be different. This story might not just belong to her, but it could be your story too. So, welcome to the Expectations versus Reality episode of College World. Turn on your speaker, pay attention, and listen to her story. College world is not what you think. When she first got to UNESA, she thought college to be fun, exciting, and full of friendship. But it didn't turn out that way. She quickly discovered that it was quite different. She was surprised by how focused everyone was on their own lives. Even if someone had a problem in the middle of the street or danced in the cafeteria, no one noticed. Even no one paid attention. From this, she learned that college is not just about hitting the books, it's also about learning how to stand on your own 2 feet. Lecturer, friend, shelf, all surprising. For Riva, the most was not just the new environment, but also the lecturers, friends, and even how she changed. College lecturers are way different from high school teachers. They meet so many students every day, so it's hard for them to pay special attention to just one person. As for classmates, they aren't as close as the friends she had in high school. Maybe that's because they don't hang out as much anymore. However, the most interesting part was how she realized she had changed and adapted to this new environment. Move on to my friend.
College isn't always fun. At one point, she realized that college isn't always as fun as it seems. One of her big wake up calls was figuring out just how expensive it actually is. She also found that searching for scholarships was a lot harder than she expected. But despite all that pressure, she stayed determined. Why? Because she truly loves what she's studying, which is English. The excitement of learning something new every day keeps her smiling, even when the challenges feels a bit overwhelming. How to escape from reality. When life feels a bit too heavy for her, she knows exactly how to take a breather, which is her me time. She loves hanging out at a cafe with coffee in hand, just staring out the window and thinking about everything. For her, it is not just a break, it's a chance to check in with herself. She asks stuff like, how far have I come and how can I do better? And she does this quietly in her own little world. Why does college seem so exciting at first? She also wondered why everyone, including herself, romanticized college. Maybe it's because society makes student life seem so great, with hanging out in cafes, opening up laptops, and chatting about deep stuff seemed cool at first. But the truth is, there's a lot more going on behind the scenes that most people don't see. She finally realized that college isn't just about looking awesome, it's about dealing with the tough realities of life. When reality is crueler than GPAs. When reality hurts more than her GPA, she just has to accept it and move on. Life isn't just about winning all the time. We can fail and stumble, but that doesn't mean it's game over. What really counts is how we pick ourselves back up. Life is beautiful, not because it's perfect, but because it's full of surprises and unpredictabilities. That's the segment of the story about someone stepping into college life. If you're going through this phase too, just know that you're not alone. We all have our ups and downs. Can't wait to catch you in the next episode. Take good care of yourself and keep moving forward, even if it's just a little bit at a time. Always remember that you've got this. See you in the next episode. Hello and welcome back to Brew Bittersweet Organization Edition, a space where we explore stories about students' lives. I'm Fairuz, accompanied by Diva, your host, and today's episode is for anyone who's ever joined a student organization or is still thinking about it. We often come with high expectations, but as many of us find out, campus organization at the university level can be a new world. Our guest today is Erlina, an English literature study program from UNESA who has generously shared her journey from her motivation to the surprises she didn't expect and the lessons she's grown into. Let's dive through her story together. For Erlina, the interest in student organizations didn't start in college, but it goes way back. During junior high school, she had wanted to join the student council. Unfortunately, the timing just didn't work out, and she didn't have the flexibility to stay late or attend outside activities. But in senior high school, things changed. Erlina eventually joined the council and quickly became involved in almost all the programs. On weekends, she was rarely at home, replaced by activities filled with responsibilities. And even though it was busy, she found herself thriving, and these experiences left her a strong impression. So by the time she entered university, joining another organization felt like the natural step. She thought to herself, I've done this before, I have experience, it'll probably be more or less the same. With that in mind, she confidently stepped into her first college-level organization. But it didn't take long for reality to present itself, and it was quite different from what she imagined. In high school, teachers kept giving support. They would help guide the planning, manage logistics, and make sure things stayed on track. But in university, she quickly discovered that here, students were expected to take full responsibility, from planning all the way through execution. It wasn't about lack of support, it was about independence, and that, she admits, was a big shift. Interestingly, part of what motivated her to join the organization again was a close friend at the time, her friend Dino. Before the university orientation, Dino had encouraged her to join the university level student executive board, saying that it would be a great space for her to grow and maybe even meet again within the same circle. But the support of her friend helped her make the decision to join. In the end, though, their paths led them to different groups. Dino had become the chairman of their study program student association, while Erlina joined the student executive board at the faculty level. They didn't end up in the same space as planned, but the encouragement stayed with her. Next will be continued by my friend Diva.
Thank you, my friend. Continue for Erlina's story. So far, Erlina has joined 2 organizations on campus, the Study Program Student Association and now Student Executive Board. And while both have brought different experiences, she remembers one particularly difficult moment, the student elections. It was a period filled with self-doubt and discomfort. There were things she hadn't faced before, fears she had to confront, and uncertainties she had to face through. But in that difficulty, she also discovered courage she didn't know she had. It was hard, but it helped her realize she was stronger than she thought. She also shared when the journey started to feel worth it. That moment came when she saw how her knowledge and experience from campus organization could be applied in community environment, especially when she was able to contribute meaningfully in a group where not many others had the same experience. She felt heard and she felt useful. But why, she wonders, do expectations and reality in the organization often feel so far apart? For Erlina, the answer is simple. The scale is just different. High school and college operate on different levels, not just in terms of structure, but also in communication, administration, and responsibility. What worked before doesn't always work the same way now. And yet, despite the gap between what she hoped for and what she faced, Erlina is still here, still involved, still committed. Why? It's because for her, commitment means staying even when things aren't easy. She says, if we only join when everything feels perfect, then we're not really learning. Growth comes from staying, especially when it's dull. Of course, she chuckles and admits that being part of a campus organization looks good on a CV, but it's more than that. It's about being responsible, about not quitting just because things are difficult, and about valuing the experience even when it's not as pretty as expected. So, how does she keep her spirit alive? Her answer is deeply personal. Sometimes it's as simple as chatting with fellow friends and being reminded that she's not alone. And other times, it's taking a quiet moment during a gathering, just sitting and observing, imagining herself looking back at this time from the future. She believes that when we step back like that, we start to see what we've built, what we've learning, and what we'll one day be proud of. Her message is warm yet powerful. No matter how hard it gets, try to enjoy the journey because one day you will harvest the fruit of what you planted here. That's Erlina's story, which filled with hope, humbleness, and toughness. A reminder that student organizations aren't just about events or titles. They're about growth, responsibility, and a win in every step of the way. Thank you for joining us on Bittersweet Podcast Organization Edition. See you on the next episode. Bye bye. Hi everyone, welcome to Bittersweet Podcast International Undergraduate Study Program Class UNESA Edition. a podcast where we listen to real student experiences behind the titles of IUP class. I'm your host, Diva and Fairuz, and in this episode, we are diving into a story that many of us might relate to. A story about expectations, reality, and what it means to grow through the unexpected things. Our guest for this episode is a student from English Literature Study Program at UNISA, who joined the International Undergraduate Program or IUP. She came she came in with big hopes just like many of us would. But what she found was a little different. For privacy, she chosen to remain anonymous, and we completely respect that. But what she shared with us is honest, thoughtful, and something I think many of us can relate to. Let's listen to her story. When our guest decided to join the IUP program at UNISA, she brought hope and curiosity in her. She had certain expectations like many of us. She imagined being part of a program that offered broader exposure to the international academic world with opportunities such as student exchange, global seminars, and perhaps even guidance toward international scholarships. It sounded like the kind of environment where students will be challenged not just academically, but also culturally, which offers something completely different. But once she stepped into the reality of the program, things turned out to be a little more complex. To be fair, she did experience some international things. There were online seminars involving speakers from abroad, and the assignments were noticeably more demanding. She also received first-hand information about international opportunities and even took part in a student exchange semester at another university. However, as times went on, she began to realize that these experiences only scratched the surface of what she had imagined. The core of the program, like the curriculum, the teaching style, and the daily routines, didn't feel much different from the regular classes at UNISA. And while the student exchange sounded exciting, it came with its own set of challenges. The curriculum at the host university didn't align well with what she was studying at UNISA, and when she returned, she felt like she had missed out important lessons and insight from her home campus. Next to my friend, Fairuz.
Thank you, Diva. I'm Fairuz and I will be continuing the story. Along the way, certain individuals played important roles in shaping her experiences. She mentioned that her classmates and the head of the study program were particularly influential. They helped her adjust and encouraged her to stay open minded as she navigated this new academic environment. Interestingly, some classmates also became part of her biggest realization. At first, she thought she would be surrounded by students who were highly advanced. She imagined a competitive atmosphere, but the reality is much more humane. She found that her classmates, just like her, were also learning and growing. They faced challenges too, and over time, they supported each other and creating a space not of rivalry but of mutual understanding and friendship. In the beginning, she believed that IUP would lead her into a truly international academic world, which shaped by global curriculum, daily interactions with international students, and teaching methods inspired by foreign systems. To some extent, things did happen. She attended guest lectures from professors in Canada, and she met international students from time to time. But overall, the differences between IUP and the regular program were not as big as she had expected, at least not in terms of structure and learning style. So, why did she expect such a global experience in the first place? Well, the word international itself carried a lot of meaning. It naturally made her, and perhaps many others, to think of a learning environment that would feel very different and very connected to the wider world. Now that some time has passed and she has had space to reflect, she admits that the IUP experience didn't fully match her expectations, especially in terms of curriculum and academic design. But she also acknowledges something more personal: the friendship she formed, the support she felt, and the sense of being with her friends were things she didn't plan for but cherishes for now. In the end, what she gained may not have been everything she imagined, but it was still meaningful in its own way. That was the story from one of the students in IUP class, a journey of learning not just from books and lectures, but also from the lessons that came along the way. Thank you very much for listening to Brew Bittersweet IUP Class Edition. If you've ever felt like your college experience didn't quite match your expectations, just know that you're not alone and that there's still so much value to be found. You can freely share your experiences and stories in the comments below, and we'll see you in the next time. Goodbye!